Hey everybody, welcome to DTK12 Chat. My name's Trey Boden. I am one of the moderators tonight. I'm also here with Shelley Paul. Shelley, give a good shout out.
Hi everybody, excited to have you here.
So Shelley and I are located in Atlanta, Georgia. I have the opportunity to be the creative director at Mount Vernon Presbyterian School. Where are you at, Shelley? I
am at Woodward Academy, and I have the opportunity to be the director of learning design.
Yeah, so tonight is a really cool night. Very few. Well, first, some of you might be asking, where's Boden been? All right, so here's the deal, peeps. I have been all over the place because I had a kid in March, and apparently that changes your life.
So I've heard.
That's part of it. So there's been some Wednesday nights where I've been spending some family time and that sort of thing. I have been perusing the chats, and we have the new site up, so I do want to give that plug, dtk12chat.com. We would love for more contributors, people writing and putting up stuff up there. But also several of the post-show peeps, we've been talking about different ways. I know Amanda has been blogging on DTK12 Chat for a while. Dan has been on hiatus, Joseph as well, but they're jumping back in, so we hope to get the post-show coming back a couple times over the next semester. And also, Jen Chan and I have some news that is coming. Can't talk about it yet, but I hope that you like to listen to things because Jen Chan and I are going to be working on some things together. But you didn't come here for me. You came here for your weekly dose of design thinking. So if you're new to the chat, this is not how it usually goes. In fact, usually what happens is we try and just talk to each other in 140 characters using as best language as we can to express our ideas and have awesome threads in a Q&A format. We're still doing that tonight. We're actually going to be on the Twitter chats. That's where Shelley Paul is going to be perusing for your questions as we go through tonight's discussion with both Business Innovation Factory and TD4ED, people who've gone through the TD4ED experience. So all that being said, tonight is a little bit different, but please engage on Twitter with the hashtag DTK12Chat. And yeah, so tonight we have the guests. They were here last year on the chat. We have the Business Innovation Factory and TD4ED crew with us. You guys want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lindsay Maservi. I'm an experienced designer here at BIF, and I was the lead on developing the TD4ED program.
I'm Jeff Drury. I'm been here for a while, working on TD4ED. I'm still here, and I'm doing the design and development of the website/platform.
And I'm Karen George. I'm an experienced designer at BIF, and I'm working on kind of the next phase of TD4ED.
Awesome. And we also have two special guests. Would you guys want to introduce them, or do you guys want to introduce each other?
Or yourselves.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm Rachel Slaughter. I'm from Eastern University Academy Charter School, and I worked with TD4ED last semester on a design for our school.
And I'm Sydney Franks. I am a teacher in Chicago, and I was a part of the TD4ED pilot in Chicago last spring.
Awesome. Well, Shelley, I'm going to let you go ahead and get on the Twitter chats, and you can be coming. We'll bring you back in just a minute. All right. So now that we've all introduced ourselves, why are we here? Well, the Business for Innovation Factory team actually has been working on something amazing. One of the things I think that I love about this chat is that I have learned so much and have bumped up into so many different tools. I had the opportunity of actually helping design a tool around design thinking this past summer with a great and amazing team from our Fuse conference. But Business Innovation Factory, gosh, I keep getting it wrong, sorry guys. BIF, we'll just say BIF. BIF has been really busy over the past year. They were talking about what they've come to bring and show us tonight when it comes to actually equipping educators to do design thinking in the classroom. So you guys want to just kind of give us a little intro. What have you guys been doing over the past year? And yeah, why are we here tonight?
Yeah. First, I wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple people that are out in the Twitter sphere. We've got Sam Seidel and Curtly Fisher, who are manning the Twitter for BIF, and we have a bunch of TD4ED pilot teachers out there, so make sure to say hi, everybody. So yeah, TD4ED, I guess we can start with what it is. We developed this online platform that brings design thinking to teachers in kind of a learning by doing approach, where you really work on challenges that are meaningful to you in your classrooms, in your districts, in your communities, in your school, working with your colleagues through a process of 6 to 8 weeks or even longer to go through the whole kind of approach to design thinking to tackle those challenges that are really meaningful to you. And over the past year, we've gone from kind of having this little idea of, trying to support teachers in giving them agency and autonomy to be able to really create experiences for themselves and their students and their community that they can really own, that they can develop and design. So taking that little idea and building it with our pilot teams of teachers, including Rachel and Sydney, who are here with us, we used a series of 3 different pilot programs with 13 different teams of teachers to really develop not only the curriculum that makes up the design thing or the TD4ED platform, but also the platform itself and how it's actually delivered. And spent lots of time with them, getting to know them. They did amazing work with it and learned so much from them. And we have this online platform that you can now access. Anyone can access. It's totally free, totally open to use. Love to have people using it right now. Yeah.
So one of the things that we talk about at the school that I'm at is we've kind of taken our own take on a point of view statement that Stanford D School uses with design thinking, and we moved that into this idea of moment of visible empathy, or a move. What moves you? What is the moment of visible empathy that was the genesis of catapulting you into doing something that is great and bringing something new to the world? So I'm curious, like, this platform, what motivates you guys to actually want to do this work? Do you have a moment that was like, okay, I want to do this. We want to do something that would really bring this tool to educators. Is there a story behind developing this platform and why you're developing it?
Yeah, Trey, that's a great way of kind of thinking about it. I'd say our move was in 2012, we did a research study. So a little bit about BIF. We're a nonprofit organization, and we've been around for 10 years. And we specialize in using human-centered design and research and design thinking in order to create, develop, and test new business models within the social sectors. So in healthcare and education and citizenship. And so we did some work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2012, looking at this whole idea of feedback for teachers. What is the process and the experience around feedback? How teachers receive, actually use feedback, and how it's actionable to them. And we found that there was this disconnect, and a lot of what we were seeing is that there was kind of a lack of, or not feeling like their voice, they had ownership over what they could do in their school and in their district. And so we saw that opportunity as a way to use, we use design thinking, we use human-centered design in our own process in order to tackle some of these huge challenges. That's a perfect tool to give to teachers, as you all know, as part of the DTK12 chat, to actually use it as a vehicle for creating innovation within education and tackling some of these big challenges that we've been struggling with for years. And who else better to do it than teachers who are right at the center of everything? I mean, they know their students the best. Let's put the tools in their hands and let them run. And it's really just amazing seeing that.
Very cool. So, like, I think that really hones into kind of the next line I kind of want to take us down is, you know, one of the amazing things about design thinking is that I think it prioritizes, or at least at some level, gives more weight to the process than the product. Now, I know that you guys are crazy pumped about showing us the product, but I'm curious if you would just tell us a little bit about the journey. What users did you use? What has been the journey over the past year of developing this platform? And how did you use design thinking even through the development of a design thinking platform? I know that's like crazy meta, but I mean, like, how did you use that? What did you do? How did you engage design thinking in order to create this product?
Yeah, I mean, it was a right from the start. We were, we had some ideas about, ways of presenting this that we knew were going to be, way better off if we presented to teachers. And so right from the start, we shared with the teachers our intention to build this with their help and to take their feedback, and apply it as in the most efficient way as we could. And before we even met the pilot teachers, we met with a bunch of other teachers and paced them through, just some of the the ideas about behind the curriculum, as well as the interface and platform for delivering it. And we made lots of changes even before we even got out of the gates, just based on real world situations that they put in front of us. So there's a lot of prototyping and iteration right from the start. And I think the entire site and interface for the site has changed about 5 times or so, in this process. In some cases, really majorly. So it really has been this case of, nothing is too precious to, sort of like just change up, and if we find something that works better. And at the end of our pilot period, Sydney and Rachel and a lot of the other teachers gave us invaluable feedback that we used, hopefully, as much as we could of the site, which we hope to again continue to develop with help from teachers.
Yeah, and I guess one thing to point out is that with our pilot programs, we used a mix of in-person workshops, so actually doing some hands-on facilitation, but as well as using the online platform as a way to further the work, while we weren't doing these in-person workshops. But we used that in-person time as a way to not necessarily to facilitate and to kind of teach, but as a way to sit back and see how teachers were actually using the platform and actually going through the activities in kind of an ethnographic, exploratory way. So really understanding what was working, what wasn't working, what was confusing, what was really helpful to them, so we could then go back and, as Jeff said, continuously iterate on the platform and the curriculum, throughout the whole period of the pilot. So, just experimenting all the time, again, not thinking that anything's too precious. And it was a really awesome process, a long process, and a very kind of rapid process. But in the long run, I mean, it really kind of embedding these design thinking attributes and mindsets into the process really, I think, created an amazing product. Hopefully.
It also helped that we were a really small team, so we could turn ideas around really fast, which was, probably a big help in terms of making changes and getting, more feedback. So
that's great. So of course we go ahead.
It's a little harder to do things, with less people, because people are doing more than one thing, but or charged with more than one thing. But it definitely helps, get more feedback than you would if you had longer cycles where you had to, a couple of weeks between edits. So
That's great. I'm excited because we actually have Rachel and Sydney on with us, who are actually participants with you on this journey. So I wanted to give so Biff, I'm imagining that this is a conversation between you guys and your users and talking about the experience. If you wanted to lead us through kind of what their experience has been, and maybe even give us what would it look like to interview your user now in this moment, as we get to be onlookers as you guys talk.
Yeah. Well, I guess the first question I'll start with Sydney and then Rachel. What did you know about design thinking when you came into the program, and how did you actually want to join to be a participant?
I knew very little before coming in. I was wooed pretty strongly by a video that was prepared at the culmination, I believe, of the Rhode Island pilot, and it was so creative and so inspiring, and I remember sitting and watching this video and thinking, wow, I want to be that creative and that focused and that open-minded in my own teaching. Let me be a part of that.
Awesome. And Rachel?
I knew very little as well. As a matter of fact, I had no introduction to the project. My principal and CEO knew Sam Seidel from another project, and was constantly just always telling us about this creative person that he knew and that we should join whatever project he's working on. And so I did a little research and found that the TD4ED was available in Philadelphia, and so I brought my team there. At the time, I was part of the administrative team at our school, so it worked out really well. And again, it was a Saturday or weekend project. We were really amazed, my team, at how well put together everything was. And what brought us in, I think, to continue this work or on the weekends was how excited the whole crew was. Your awesome crew and how personable everyone was. And it just really made us feel like we could take a challenge or bring a challenge to you and leave with something very concrete. And that's exactly what happened.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess we might as well get right to the chase. What were your projects that you worked on? You know, what was your design challenge? What was kind of the journey through it, and what did you end up with? Again, starting with Sydney.
Team Perspective's design challenge centered around low teacher retention rates at our schools, and the negative impact that we saw and experienced both personally among staff members, but also for our students' learning as well. And so our team was comprised of teachers from 2 different high schools, both located at the same campus, very closely but still distinct. And so we teamed together around that issue, recognizing similarities in our cultures, to address the types of experiences that teachers were having that either led them to continue their own growth and development at Perspectives or to seek other opportunities. And so through the design thinking process, as a result, the solution that we developed over the course of the program was to create a kind of almost framework for mentorship and evaluation of teachers that was less focused on checking off boxes 1, 2, and 3, and more about asking mentors and staff members to really honestly reflect on their own relationships and the way that they interact and look to grow at their school, to make that growth process more authentic and appropriate for the individual's needs.
Awesome. Rachel, what about you?
We were super excited to bring you a real situation that we found ourselves in with our middle school. As you know, our school starts at 7th grade and we end at 12, and our 7th and 8th graders feel almost isolated from the rest of our building. to the point where you can see that they are kind of wanderers in our building, and in being kind of isolated from the rest of the high school, we also noticed how they lacked compassion, they lacked sensitivity. There was a disconnect between their group and our group, and so we wanted to take that and make it a more global issue and try to figure out and hone in on what made our young people, our 7th graders, insensitive, what made them lack compassion, what made them lack empathy, and how could we instill that into that young group without being cheesy. And so we brought that to the group to see if it was possible to kind of create a project where our elementary group could be more hands-on with people who needed compassion. So we designed a challenge where the students learned more about homelessness through the lens of compassion and use that empathy and compassion to go out into the larger world.
Thanks. Those are great. So as you were going through the process and as you were using the design thinking approach, what were some of the big aha moments that you had as you were going through? Sydney, we can start with you again.
I think that one of the biggest aha moments that we experienced as a team was just kind of being able to really get a more crystallized understanding of the types of things that teachers were feeling and around the issues that would make them either decide to stay at our school or to leave our school. Because I think that the challenge with our issue was that it was something that we as teachers all experienced very, very personally and we're all faced with. And so we came into the design thinking process with our personal experiences, but through the process, the structure of the design thinking framework, and especially using the online platform, it really forced us to slow down and dive into what we were dealing with. And I think that that just led to such a rich experience of understanding and thinking like, okay, what really is it that's going to make this difference for our lives as staff members at our school? And then, as a consequence, the lives of our students and their families.
Cool. That's great. Thanks. And Rachel, how about you? What are some of your aha moments?
I think one of the biggest aha moments was that your group made us more aware of what we did not know. We were sure that we didn't want to raise the level of empathy and compassion through a cheesy way of making sandwiches and delivering them to homeless people. We wanted to become more in-depth. We had no idea how much we didn't know about our problem until we worked through the website and through the design. Every weekend we had an aha moment where we realized we know little about our students, we know little about what makes them tick, and we have no way of instilling empathy and compassion in them without getting to know them better. So that was our aha moment.
I think one of the unique things that we found coming out of the pilot program, so ultimately we were charged with creating this online platform that anyone can access, but in doing kind of this blended model of using in-person workshops as well as online work, we found that, and another thing to note is that we actually brought different teams within different schools all together into one place to go through the workshop together. So, there were teams from different districts coming together. What was really interesting for us to see is how you all connected to each other and related to each other. And I'm wondering if you can kind of talk a little bit about that, the experience of kind of going across these different, these different boundaries that are, within education and kind of sharing these experiences with others.
I think that coming together in Rhode Island for the culminating weekend was one of the most invigorating experiences for that very reason, of focusing on our different projects and being able to learn from others and share from others and receive feedback from people who are so invested in helping us to do the best work that we could. And I also think that that just goes back to the TD4ED model from the get-go, right? Because it's all about establishing the autonomy and structure to provide teachers with the ability to evaluate and make these changes on their own to make sure that they are doing the best that they can for their students. And so to be able, I guess, to be able to come together in a space where we understood that that was the main focus and that's what we were all working towards was so reassuring and just reaffirming that, like, we were all there with such a purpose, and we were all there to support each other too.
Yeah, no, it was really inspiring to see just all of these teams, you know, just across districts and cities even. We had, to give a little context, we had a little culminating weekend where we brought all of our teams together so they can share out what they all did with each other and with our community. And we also took the opportunity to gather, you know, all of the feedback that we could about the curriculum, the platform, as Jeff was talking about, you know, constantly iterating. You know, that was our kind of final push. How can we make this even better? So,
you know, I want to follow up with that line of thought. Hey, Shelley, are you there?
Yep.
We've been having some pretty good tweets happening, and we've been asking some questions. And Shelley, what was the question that you? One of the questions that you had that I think really, it's kind of like the same question you just asked your users and their experience. Yeah, this is from a designer perspective. You want to ask that question?
So as mentors, because one of the things we've talked about in my learning about TD4ED is the blended mentoring, the in-person, that cross-pollinating, and how you manage that. So the question from Twitter that is coming up is, like, what was a surprise to you? What was the hardest part? What were some of your takeaways as the experienced designers for these educators?
Great question. Jeff.
Trey, I understand the question. What was the experience of the blended model?
So just kind of globally, what was a surprise? What was hard? What were your big takeaways as the people who created and helped facilitate the experience for these groups?
I think definitely seeing the breakdown of these barriers, or kind of these different barriers that I was talking about earlier. But I'd say the passion, you know, a lot of the way that we were framing this was that it was still a work in progress, and to trust us in the process. And we definitely reached there's definitely some points, you know, as you're going through kind of human-centered design where you're at these points that can get very frustrating, or you're, you know, totally overwhelmed, or you don't know where to go, and you don't know where, you know, what you're finding is, what you're learning is leading you. And the fact that we were able to say, you know, just trust in the process, and you know, work through it, and we'll support you as much as we can, but we really want you to work on this as, you know, as a team. And the fact that they were able to get through those kind of barriers and those breaking moments, you know, and we were asking a lot of our teachers, to be honest. I mean, we were checking in with them weekly. We were having them go through, you know, a super fast process within 6 weeks, you know, a whole design process. So the amount that they gave us, that they gave to us, and that they that, you know, we expected of them and they expected of us, it was just kind of an amazing thing. Again, learning about their lives and kind of getting to know what, you know, the little amount of time that they have together, even just, you know, to be together on a team and to work through these things. It incredible to see what they've done, what they did in 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things. I mean, it was really amplified in the culminating weekend that we were talking about, that Sydney was mentioning, where, you know, one of the most amazing things was just getting teachers together who, you know, obviously have something in common. That's, you know, they have this shared occupation, but they, you know, had this sort of just bringing teachers together to I would say play in this way. I mean, design thinking, there's a lot of play involved in, and, you know, like sort of suspending judgment and just imagining something different, and, you know, not judging, and, you know, really getting in there and working through ideas in a way that's not really, you know, judgmental, or, you know, there's no, you know, holding back criticism. And it really opened up space for for people to get closer, you know. And I think that was, I guess, a surprise, not a surprise for me, but it was a great thing to see. It was unexpected that, you know, we thought that, sure, teachers could learn from this and create an excellent product, you know, an excellent outcome, but the fact that it would bring people together, possibly because of, you know, this being a sort of open exercise, was kind of, you know, it was encouraging.
Very cool. I really thought that was a question, was a really important question, because I think that on our chat, this is just hard as moderators, is that we have people that are new design thinkers, and then we also have people who also want to create systemic change. So I think it's good for us to hear from people who are just getting their feet wet, and also for people who are wanting to really take it to the next level. And I think it's a really good insight as someone who also has designed and collaborated on creating events on teaching design thinking. Like, I love the fact that I love the fact that you guys were kind of just a little bit vulnerable there, just about the process, and how that process, the expectation going into it was one way, and that expectation changed as you encounter your user. And how often does that happen in design, right? Like, how often does it happen in our classrooms that we're going into a lesson and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's not what I thought was going to happen. So I think that that's a really important part to any sort of design endeavor, is to realize that the unexpected comes, but at the same time is learning how to pivot. I think that's a huge part of design thinking, right? Is learning how to move past those moments and actually embrace them, and then at the same time learn from them as you're going through it. But I'd be curious, Rachel and Sydney, if you want to unmute your mics. I would be curious about. Oh, actually, I think I have to actually do it for you. See there. There we go. I'd be curious to this line of, what advice would you give other educators who want to use design thinking as a part of their practice, as kind of people who have gone on this journey over the past year? What advice would you give from your experience with BIF?
I would have to say that the biggest piece of advice that I could share with teachers as they begin to work with BIF is, do not be overcome with the obstacle of the end. We kept thinking we knew what the end of our project would be, and we kept tripping over this preconceived notion of what we wanted to do. We absolutely wanted the kids to learn empathy and compassion by dealing with homeless people and perhaps providing them with some food. That was the least of our end goal. Once we started working with BIF, we realized that we needed to scale back several feet before we could go forward, so that we could get to understand our students and to realize what they were going through and how many people needed to impact their lives before they could ever make a sandwich and go out and feed the hungry. We were absolutely overwhelmed with how little we knew about our young people and how much they could have taught us in the process. had we not gone through the work with BIF, we would have never gotten that far. We would have failed miserably with a very contrite, hackneyed idea of how young people can work with the homeless. Instead, after working with BIF, we came up with a much more innovative plan, which included more of how the students relate to each other and how they became compassionate with each other before they went out into the larger world.
And I would absolutely echo Rachel's comment in this idea of slowing down and kind of trusting the process as a means to get to ultimately like what is supposed to happen, like that best, most informed, deepest understanding of this issue that you're posing as a team. And it's something that our team struggled with a lot as well, this desire to say and recognize, rightfully so, that this is a big issue and it's something that we're facing on a daily basis and it's something that has big consequences for the work that we're doing, but to kind of trust in the process and slow down and say, okay, we really want to understand this because it is such a large issue, it's worth taking the time to go through slowly and to really investigate before jumping to those conclusions. And once we did that, I think as a team, it became a much more fluid and natural process that felt much more organic. So at first, our desire was to kind of rush it and to go in and to problem solve and just tackle the issue at hand. But after forcing ourselves to slow down, it became much more comfortable to kind of take a step back, to be much more reflective and say, okay, yes, how do I need to consider this fully to make sure that it leads to the best outcome?
Absolutely.
So I want to jump in, and there's been like 12 things that I wanted to respond to. One was Trey's response to this idea of being vulnerable and authentic. I hear you talking about honoring your students as co-learners, learning from them as much as you are being the teacher, and I think that is such a pivotal part of doing authentic problem solving, is giving up some control. That's been the sort of why I stay in design thinking, isn't just because of authentic problem solving, but it's from building community, and I see that over and over and over again. And also, it's so heartening to me to hear you talk about slowing down to make sure you're dealing with the problem and not just trying to rush to solution. We live in a world that really doesn't allow us to do that very much, so it's just very validating. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate hearing that. We speak it in our own communities, but hearing it from you all as participants, it's very validating. There's some questions in the Twitter chat that are sort of logistical, like people keep talking about participating and being part of TD4ED, and I just want to say to the whole world listening, we're going to get to how do you go join, what do we mean by join? I don't want to go there yet because this is such rich, validating conversation, but we will get to that before we sign off.
Very cool. So, Biff, do you have any more questions that you want to lead the users through before we actually get to showcasing your platform?
Yeah. So, Cindy and Rachel, what tips would you give to others who would be using this platform and design thinking to innovate how they're teaching? What are some of your expert tips?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Cindy, we can start with you.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I can speak as an expert, in all honesty, but I think that for our team, it was most valuable when we were all committed to coming together and meeting in person, and I think that we touched a little bit on this, of the blended experience of the personal face-to-face interaction versus communicate just using the platform. And I absolutely love the platform and the way that it's structured and how it provides for collaboration. I know I was one of those people that Jeff probably got sick of with all of my feedback and comments, but I really love the way that the website is structured, and I think that it's a fabulous product. But being able to kind of unite that online collaborative structured space with a less formal personal, we're just sticky notes in a whiteboard and see what happens, also really helped us. And carving out that time can be very challenging, but it was also some of the most rewarding time that I think we had as a team, and it led to the best and deepest learnings in our project overall. So uniting as a team.
And Rachel, how about you?
I would say that my biggest advice or expert tips would first start with the team itself. Your school team needs to come together as a group and be willing to be very open and honest and vocal about any obstacles or preconceived notions that they have. One of the greatest parts of the workshop that we did on the weekends was to just start with play. Lots of little doodads that BIF had available to us where we could kind of draw and create. Once we used those materials, it really made our team vulnerable and vocal and open to talking about what our ideas were, preconceived notions, write it down, voice it. The next step would be to trust the process. We became really tired of rewriting the problem over and over again for the work, but it was the greatest part of our success, because had we not continually voiced what our problem was, we would have never come to an actual conclusion that made sense for our constituents. So the next piece of advice would be that although you get really fatigued with kind of talking about and reiterating the problem that you came to the table with, you need to go ahead and work through that fatigue and have the grit to continue forward so that you can come out with the most innovative ending.
All right, Biff, you want to show us the good stuff?
Sure.
Get Mr. Drury in here.
Collectively, your name is Biff.
The one thing to shout out to, everyone can find the TD4ED website. I'm sure it's been tweeted out, but www.td4ed.com.
So I'm just going to walk you through just some top-level stuff. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Stick around via Twitter or through this Hangout. But I just want to give you just an overview of what's here and how to find things, and hopefully get you interested enough so that you'll get a user account and start playing yourself. So if you go to TD4ED.com and whether or not you have a login already, just click on this login button at the top. If you do not have a username yet, it's easy to do. It's no charge. Just click on this register here button in the sidebar and fill out a couple of form fields in here, and this will generate an email to you to just validate, that you are who you are, and that'll send you right back to the site, and you'll be. I'm going to log in really fast, and there's two parts of the site I wanted to go over. One is the part of the site that's actually houses the curriculum, and that's found under the program link. And the other part of the site is the projects section, which is where we list the projects that have been completed using TD4ED, including those from Sydney and from Rachel. So I'll go over those next, but first I just wanted to show you how the curriculum is laid out. The curriculum is broken up into 6 phases: define, explore, reflect, imagine, play, and transform. And although you can, anyone who's sort of familiar with design thinking knows that you can sort of start anywhere. It does help to, at least, if you're first starting out, to start with define and make your way through. It's really important to get a really good foundation with what you're trying to solve for. As Rachel said, you may ask the same. You may continue to define what your problem is over and over again until you really get it right. And that's a really great way to start on a good foundation. So we recommend you starting with define. And so each of these has a little menu icon at the top and opens up. And each of these sections has several tasks associated with it. And so I'm just going to just give you a walkthrough of the phase and to give you a sense of how this works. And so I'm trying to be really clear about what you'll be in for each section. And so we lay this out clearly right at the front and sort of inform you what the outcome you're looking for here is. There's also a video that for each of these sections that
those times when all of a sudden you have technical difficulties. That just happened. So I will see how they come back. They might drop in and drop back out. So when I'm looking at already what I see, I'm really impressed by it. Oh, there they are. Hey Jeff, you back?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys dropped out a little bit there.
Oh, okay. I'll go back. And so you can just see my screen now, right?
Right.
Okay, good. So I'm just going to repeat so each of the sections has a number of tasks inside of it, but each one begins with the sort of framing of what this section intends, what's intended for the section. And so we lay it out clearly what the outcome should be, and then give you some more context with a video for each section that outlines what this section is aiming to do, as well as gives you a hypothetical scenario ongoing with a story about these teachers that are working through their own problems, so you can actually see an example of that. When you scroll to the bottom of the page, it gives you the prompt for the very next page, and we went through many iterations of the way to sort of distribute this curriculum. This is the most sort of streamlined and pulled back version of it, and we learned many things which I'd be happy to share later on. But one of the things was to just really not hide anything behind like fancy interface conventions, but really just make it very clear as to what the action is in front of you. And so we're breaking this down into, we were in the define section, and there's 6 sections within, or 6 tasks within that. The interface will give you little notes about how much time is needed for this particular task. In this case, deciding on a problem with your group should take about an hour, or could take about an hour. And so within each, or many of these tasks, there's a number of supplemental exercises, examples, tips that, especially in the, if you're just working through this with your team without, speaking with us, or, just going through this for the first time, it gives you lots of examples and lots of things that you can sort of refer back to. And so there's exercises like the problem tree analysis, or this 5 whys worksheet, which you can see here. You can even download a PDF if you wanted to print that out. There's examples that we've culled from Pinterest, so you can actually go and see what other people have done for this very same exercise. There are tips for this particular task as well. And so each one of these tasks has a varying number of these, but most do have some supplemental material just to give you some more context around that. And so again, this is pretty much the format for each of these task pages. One thing to note, I did see in the Twitter chat, someone was asking about a mobile version of this, and it's designed right now responsively so that it'll scale from desktop to mobile to tablets. We found a lot of teachers using tablets to do this, and so just change up a little bit. It looks the same. It's just things get reoriented a little bit. It'll even go down all the way to really scrawny mobile sizes, and things change up a little bit, but all the information is all still there and highly legible. So we did find that teachers using tablets, it's a great tool in the classroom. It should really definitely work for that. So we make sure that happens. So again, in this particular stage, there's 6 steps. We start with an introduction and then go through a couple of tasks and then end up on a review, just to give you in one sense a checklist of what you should have come out of this with, and an idea of what's up next, as well as a way to enter your work if you are if you've initiated the project, if you're a project leader, which I'll talk about in a minute. And so to get back to your to the page with all of the actually I'm getting ahead of myself. So you can jump into any of the sections in this very same way. Everything is laid out clearly for you here, and even the text here gives you a sense of what you should be getting out of this. So defining a clear human-centered and open-ended design challenge, or exploring a new understanding of your design challenge. So even if you're unfamiliar with design thinking, this goes at a pace that should be clear enough for you to get pretty much right away. So this is kind of the way that the text is, the curriculum is laid out, color coordinated, so you'll get a sense of where you're at, but it is all laid out in a very similar manner. Each one having varying degrees of supplemental material. And clear ideas of how long this should take you. To start a project, super simple. You have to have already signed up as a user. But to start a project, just go to the Projects tab here and just click Start Your Own Project.
Do you want to say a little bit about what projects, why start a project?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Thanks, Lindsay. So you actually don't have to start a project. You can basically access the curriculum, put together a team, and work through this anonymously off-site in whatever way you see fit. Take as long as you like. Use this however you'd like, and it's there for you. If you wanted to display your work, one of the advantages of that is you do gain some visibility for your project, and hopefully some some potential for collaborating with other teams, at least if they give you feedback. But starting a project through TD4ED website will get your project listed on this projects page, and also give you a way of entering in your content. So these little profiles will be customized for you. So when you click on the projects tab, you do get, as we said, the listing of all of the projects we've had go through so far. The little color bars coordinate to or correlate rather to the different sections, and so you can see these projects are done, whereas this one here has some more steps to go. So Rachel's project here, creating compassionate students, and Sydney's project is here, increasing teacher retention at prospective charter schools. And so you can go through and actually see their work. You can see their project team that went through this, a little bit about the project, a little bit about their school, and then underneath that you get a listing of what they've entered. So their design challenge, their pitch for that project, the key observations, etc. So you get a real sort of like high level view of what they were working through and what their outcomes were, in a way that's accessible to anyone, so that it's not exhaustive, like a giant report that you may not have, might be too long to read. In this way, you do get just a high-level overview of what their challenge was and how they worked to get to some end. And it's our hope there that it would inspire teachers to say, hey, I've got this idea of working through a project. Can I see what other teachers have done, how they've approached the problem? And hopefully these pages facilitate that type of understanding. And we've just launched this version of the site, and we opened up comments on these. So we do encourage anyone to read through these projects and enter your own feedback, and hopefully get a conversation going around these fantastic projects. So these are available, as I said, for all of the pilot teams. Just click on the Projects tab. But if you'd like to start your own project, the button at the top here will get you going really fast. And we just try and give you a little understanding of what this entails. So if you're ready to start a project, the person who's starting the project becomes the project leader, and you'll work collaboratively with your team. You're the one who's going to keep the project moving, and you have the support of our community. And so we try and just give you a little bit of heads up right at the front there. But to begin, all you have to do is enter a new project title. So I'm just going to put the DT here, and so that's all you have to do to start, to get going. And this gives you a little understanding of what's up first. And so, yes, invite some team members in, and then just jump in and get started. Just a suggestion, but we're trying to just give you clear way into the project. And so, really quickly, you now have a blank project started. If you click on Project Tools and say Update this project, again, we try and give you a little bit of instruction right up front, and we can just go ahead and enter a project description. So I'm just going to enter some sample text, and we do try and keep the character counts to a limit, just so that we can sort of keep things condensed, and also in Twitter fashion, it forces you to be very specific with your words. So I'm just going to save that, and now that brief introduction appears on my little bio here, and I can just jump into the curriculum now. This is in effect my homepage, and I can just jump into any of these any of the sections right from our homepage here.
Yeah, so that's the general gist. We do want to say, this is always, we're always looking for feedback. This is kind of a beta of the platform. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. If you guys want to click that screen share button again, then we can see you, and so we can actually say goodbye, because we are getting to the end. We have 1 minute left. It's so sad, but yeah, let me also make sure there. Now we're switching back and forth, but I would like to ask one final question, because I think in the spirit of design thinking, right? Like I'm sure you're already thinking of the next iteration. Where do you guys see this going the next time around?
Yeah. So in the spirit of nothing is too precious, we are always trying to refine this. So as we've talked about, this started as a blended model, and what we're really hoping for is to get more teachers onto this online platform, and to give us feedback about what's working for you, what's not working for you. And we actually have a short Google survey that we can tweet out the link for, that if you're looking through, and just to give us your honest first impressions about what the experience is like for you. And if you do that, there's a place that you can put in your email address. We can give you kind of more of a high-touch interaction where we can do sort of like a kickoff call with you just to get your project going, get some momentum, and provide you with support along the way. We are also looking into some applications for more of a blended model with different partnerships. So if you're part of a working group already or an online community, or you have a great idea of where you think TD4ED could be a fit, please let us know that as well. We're always looking for new ideas about how we can move this forward.
Very cool. That's awesome. And what is people are going to be asking, how do they sign up?
Just go right to TD4ED.com and click on the button at the top right that says log in. And
awesome.
That'll get you into the curriculum, and you can start a project if you like from there, or just go through the curriculum on your own, get familiar with it, and you know, get some people together and get to work.
Great, awesome. Well, Rachel and Sydney, BIF, BIF, y'all peeps up there in the cold part of the country. Thank you so much. I mean, seriously, for joining us. Shelley, do you have any closing thoughts?
I just want to say we've tweeted the link a bunch. You're going to get hit with a bunch of people who want to join and connect. And thank you so much to the BIF team and Rachel and Sydney for joining us. Sydney, Sydney and Rachel, hope to see you in Philadelphia and Chicago at some point. And good luck moving forward.
Awesome. So DTK12 chat, we hope you have a great evening. I know we're like a minute over, but we hope that you've stayed tuned. And if there's anything, yeah, there you go. If there's anything that we can do to make your design thinking experience in your classrooms, you know this community is great. Tweet out, connect, and we'll see you guys next week. See y'all.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. See ya.